Hey everybody, it's Romania Black. We're at the midway point of part one. If you can believe it, we're only at the halfway point of part one. I feel like I've watched a whole season. I feel like I've watched a whole season of this show, and we're only halfway through. I'm worried about this recap already. But yeah, so we're on episode 8, Assassin's Bullet. Okay, whatever we're gonna do with that. So yeah, these last couple of episodes have been a doozy. I even went back and rewatched episode 6 a little while ago. Episode 6 has been like the bane of my existence because I just feel like it's such a conflicting episode for me watching. And I have realized something too. We have the rule of 6 with Isayama and Attack on Titan. The rule of 5 applies too, because all the 5th episodes of this series has been pretty crazy too. You had the first episode 5, which was when Tross started and Eren got 8. That was season 1. Season 2, episode 5 was Historia, where you learned about Historia. Season 3, part 1, episode 5 was it wasn't Trust, it was one right after that where the coup happened. You had that episode, and then you had Hero. And then you had, Declaration of War. So it's like episodes 5 and 6, Isayama, that time of the series, it just gets pretty crazy. And so I'm a little bit worried about episode 5 and 6 in part 2. Not looking forward to that. Let me be honest, it's really hard. It's been a trial to avoid spoilers for part 2. I've done my best, and I don't think I've been spoiled on anything. I'll be like scrolling through. I can't even click on the homepage on YouTube anymore because I'm afraid something's gonna pop up, and I'm like, no, I don't want to see anything. It's frustrating. But I think I've done good so far. I don't think I've been spoiled on anything, which is good. So, but yeah, I do have some notes. Episode 5 came out on Patreon. Episode 3 came out on YouTube. Fun times. Tomorrow, episode 6 and episode 4 are going to come out, so I'm just barely ahead. But I feel like with these episodes in a row, I need to be, because I have a feeling somebody's going to make a comment and be like, oh, this character, and I'm like, no, don't want to be spoiled. So I do have a couple comments before we start in the intro. As per usual, it's probably going to be a long intro. I've pulled up episode 8 here, and the nice thing about having these on a flash drive is when I pull it up, it just shows you the first panel. Doesn't show you anything else. The first panel of the episode is all that I see. And it's of Reiner standing there. And I will be honest, I don't like Reiner's face, the way that it's formed in this. I don't like it not having the shield on it. It looks very shonen. It looks very Bleach, right? It looks like a transformation you'd see in Bleach, is what it reminds me of. And I'm like, okay, I do think it's rather symbolic and interesting. I didn't note this in the last episode because I didn't really notice it. I thought it was like flower petals. It looked like blooms of armor bursting from Reiner. But now looking at him standing here in this thumbnail, in this screenshot here, they look like angel wings. He's presented like an angel. Angels and demons. It's Reiner and Eren. Eren is painted like a devil in this, and Reiner's painted like an angel. But we all know from the last couple episodes that what even is the concept of angels and demons in this mortal world anymore, right? It goes back to, and some of you have noted this, it goes back to Kruger's words. Anyone can be a god or a devil as long as you get people to believe them. So yeah, it just ties it. It's just very, very symbolic that Reiner has like the angel wings of armor coming off of him as he's come to save Falco and Gabby and the rest of Marley. It's very symbolic. I like it. It's very shonen, but I'm okay with it. Very, very, very much. All right, so I'm going to get some notes through here, and then we're going to start. But Rated R Loquinder noted, this is going back to episode 3, that Annie has been the only one in this entire series that has fought all 3 Ackermans and lived. She fought Mikasa several times. She's fought Levi, and she's fought Kenny. Technically ran away from Kenny, but she's confronted all 3 Ackermans, and she survived. And Annie's still going strong. As far as we know, she might be dead. We don't know at this point. But as far as we know, she's still alive and kicking. So there's that. Live Like Hell. Live Like Hell made a comment that I noted a few episodes back how Falco seems to have gained the best qualities from both Eren and Armin. And Live Like Hell noted, well, if that's the case, then Gabby inherited the worst traits of Armin and Eren. And I was like, oh no, because I'm like, that's so true. Gabby reminds me a lot, and someone else noted, I think it's down here in my notes, someone else noted that Gabby was Isayama's version of drawing Eren as a woman, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I see that. She kind of has similar features, I guess, but her attitude is very much like Eren season 1. Gabby's very much attitude. Her attitude is like Eren in season 1, where she's just like gung-ho, let's go after him, I'm gonna get revenge, like all that sort of thing. She has that very same mentality, and I'm like, okay, if she's inherited the worst traits of Eren and Armin, that's a bad thing, because she's inherited Eren's impatience, and she has his like just reckless, let's just dive in, which she kind of showed in episode 1, and then Armin's self-sacrificing. So I'm like, girl, don't do anything stupid. So as soon as Levi Kell said that, I was like, oh, that's so true. Oh, that's so true. And it just like all suddenly sank in. And I was like, oh God, not good. P.S. noted that Reiner and Zeke would have filed reports upon returning to Shiganshina, which I'd questioned why Willie knew that Eren was not related to the Founding Titan, and that the Founding Titan no longer had the will of the Founding Titan affecting it. And Willie noted, or P.S. noted, that Willie would have found out from Reiner and Zeke filing reports, and of course, since Willie is the head of the Tiber family, and as Magath has established, the basic ruler of Marley, he would have read those reports, and that's how he knew about Eren Yeager being the new Founding Titan. I'm like, okay, makes sense. Glad you pointed that out. Nijay and others have noted that Eren technically dealt the first blow in all of this. That it's kind of like Eren at Trost. And after Nijay said that, I was like, it's kind of like Eren at Trost. In Trost, Eren like did the first major run of the battle, but he didn't think it out. Eren saw Thomas get eaten, and he rushed in head first without thinking, and it caused all these bad things to happen. And the people that were following Eren, all these bad things happened to him as well. Here, it's like almost the mirror of that. Eren is the one to make the first move, but he's planned it out meticulously and thought about it, and he went in alone. He didn't bring anybody else with him. So that is the one thing. He went into this alone without bringing anyone else, so that when he did make his move, others weren't following behind him and getting hurt. The thing about it is, though, people were following behind him. He just didn't realize the Levi squad had already gotten there. He had hoped that they'd get there to help save him, in the end, should things go awry. But when he tells Mikasa back in episode 6, he's like, oh, you showed up. He didn't drag them with him from the get-go. They came to find him. So that is good to note. I like that kind of mirror from episode 5 back at Trost, and then you see that in episode 5 of Declaration of War. It's a nice mirror of itself, of Eren rushing head first without thinking and bringing everyone else with him and it causing disaster, versus he thinks things out and plans it out, rushes in head first, and then, well, he doesn't rush in, but he goes in head first, and because no one's like following him in that moment, he's able to be somewhat successful with it. It's an interesting mirror. I like it. Also, in that same vein, talking about Eren's mentality and all of this, and a lot of people have been comparing him to Bertolt. That Eren, just like Bertolt, is in that mentality of, we had no other choice, we have to do this, this is their last resort. And so connecting those two together, which I think is really interesting, connecting Eren with Bertolt, because you normally don't think of Eren and Bertolt as being connected, but I completely agree with that. And then in that same vein, if we're talking about Bertolt, back in season 3 when Bertolt, we were making that comparison of his resolve with Mikasa's, and now if we're comparing Eren's resolve with Bertolt's, it's kind of interesting because in this case, Mikasa is reminding me a lot of Magath in a kind of a sense. Whereas Mikasa and Magath both know their roles within their military positions. Like, we've seen time and time again that when Levi tells Mikasa to do something, she does it. When she has to face a mission, she does it. She puts the mission, like, go back to episode 11 in season 2, in charge, when she's like, we're getting Eren no matter what. When Levi tells her versus Annie, you have to do this, she does it. When Levi tells her you might have to kill humans back in season 3 in episodes 1 and 2, she does it because it's part of the mission. She doesn't like the fact that she has to kill someone, but because it's the mission and because it's protecting Eren, she's going to do it. And that's kind of similar to Magath. Magath doesn't necessarily maybe want Gabby and Falco to die, but he knows their roles within this military structure and he knows what the results need to be, so he's willing to go through with it because he believes in the system. So it's an interesting comparison of Mikasa and Magath in that moment that kind of crossed my mind if we're comparing Bertolt and Eren in that sense too. And then Sacha Purvis. Sacha, this was the most revolutionary thing. Thank you on Patreon. Sacha Purvis giving this comment. I've been trying to articulate and vocalize my whole problem with Eren going through with all this. And I said in the last episode that I felt like I was projecting a lot of my own views of how Eren should act onto Eren when that's not what he's been doing. And I've been trying to vocalize the whole thing with Uri and this whole idea of a dialogue and communication. And I've been trying to vocalize it and find a way to phrase it. And it's like on the tip of your tongue. You can't quite get it out. And then Sacha comes in with this comment, and it's exactly what I've been trying to say and haven't been successful in doing so. So let me say it here. Sacha notes, Uri poses that violence is necessary, but what made him and Kenny friends was communication and understanding. Here with Aaron and Reiner, they get to have that same conversation that Uri had with Kenny, but communication and understanding don't win out. Violence wins out. And a miracle does not happen. Maybe because Aaron doesn't believe the miracle is possible. So when Uri had that conversation with Kenny, it was under very similar circumstances as Reiner and Aaron. But on the one hand, whereas Uri and Kenny were able to have that dialogue and were able to overcome violence and form a bond, violence won out in the case of Reiner and Aaron. Right? Because I think Aaron doesn't think there is a choice anymore. He's like, no, there's no chance of a miracle in all of this. And I'm like, that's what's been so frustrating, right? And then that also ties back to the idea that Aaron has resigned himself, that he has no choice. And this calls back to Reiner saying to Bertolt when they were talking about Annie and how much time you have left, that phrase that Reiner said, who better to understand ourselves than one of our own? That's Aaron and Reiner. They're one and the same. They're one of their own. So Aaron and Reiner were able to have that conversation to begin with because they're so similar. And that ties to the idea that Be Happy points out on Patreon, that Aaron was the only person Reiner could really confess all of his sins to. He was the only person he could tell all of this to, about his guilt, his shame, everything. His confession in front of Falco. I mean, Falco was just there because he had no choice. Aaron made him stay there. But Aaron was really the only person that Reiner could tell all of this to, because anybody from Marley or the Eldian side would have either turned him in or called him a traitor or killed him. Aaron was the only person he could confide in. It's the most heartbreaking thing. He finally finds somebody he can talk to about all of this. And Aaron's like, yep, cool, that's great. Still gonna kill you. And it's like, ugh, so frustrating. Christopher Peterson notes that Reiner could be a slave to Marley, but in reality, he's kind of moved past that. This whole first part of the season was him moving past that slavery, but he could now be a slave to the kids. Could be a slave to protecting Falco and Gabby, and he could be a slave to that, which is kind of being proven in this episode. He's fighting, he just wanted to die in peace, but because he's a slave to protecting those kids, here he is, ready to defend them, like you do. And then Reiner wanted Aaron to judge him and spare the others. I hadn't thought about it that way. And this kind of ties back to what I just said. Reiner wanted to confess to Aaron and say, pin it all on me. Kill me if you're going to kill somebody, but don't kill anybody else here. Like, spare everybody else. But it's too late. Reiner has already set the whole wheel in motion, and it's just, which it's worse, right? It's just attack and realizing, and Christopher noted which is worse. I'm trying to read my notes here. Christopher's like, which is worse? Reiner attacked Shiga and Sheena, and then afterwards realized it was wrong and tried to atone for it. Is that worse than the case of Aaron, who was attacked, has figured out that all of this is wrong, but attacks anyway? Which is worse? And I in my opinion, I think it's worse that Aaron knows that it's bad, knows the cycle of violence, but he chooses to do so anyway. I think that's worse. But again, Aaron has reasons, and he's not wrong. That's the problem. These characters, in their own perspective, aren't wrong. And if you look at it from either side, you get why each side, depending on who you're looking at, can be justified. It just kind of is like, what do you go with, But anyway, King Fritz realized perhaps that his power was too great for one person. And as soon as Christopher noted that, I was like looking at the camera like, gee, yes. So that King Fritz, he went behind the walls, and I liked the way Christopher phrased it. It's on episode 5's comments, but he tried to limit that power. He realized how much power he had as the founding titan, was like, maybe I should just limit it. It's like, let's take the nuclear option off the table. I'll just hide behind these walls. It'll be fine. And I'll limit it to where none of my relations and descendants will be able to use this power, because Carl Fritz probably realized it was too big of a power for one person to hold. And that could be why Ymir Fritz decided to split into 9 people when she died. Her spirit split into 9 parts because she realized one person having all this power is not good. So maybe if I split it between 9 people, it'll be better, right? And so now the problem is that you have Aaron trying to get all the power back, and he's one person. So he's the person. It goes back to what Reiner said. The last person we want with this power is Eren Yeager. Yes, I am in full agreement with Reiner on this one. I get it. Coco HJL had this really cool thing on YouTube with episode 3 that Aaron started out as an active protagonist, and he's quoting this person called Totally Not Mark's Colossal Titan Review. I've not watched any Attack on Titan reviews because 1, I don't want to be spoiled, and 2, I don't have time. So that's literally the 2 reasons. I'll probably go back and rewatch some after this is all over because I want to hear some people's perspectives, but that'll be way down the road. I guess this person, Totally Not Mark, said that Aaron was an active protagonist forced to be defensive at the start of the story, and Reiner was a passive antagonist forced to be offensive. So Aaron was a spear forced to defend, and Reiner was a shield forced to attack. But now the tables have turned, and they're actually fulfilling the roles that maybe their characters and their archetypes were originally set out to do, where Aaron is the attack titan, he's attacking, and Reiner is the armored titan, he's the shield, and he's defending Marley. That's really cool. I like that a lot. Algumalgum noted that grasshoppers are actually good luck. So in the scene where Annie smashes the grasshopper, I know a lot of people have said it's like Petra, which hashtag RIP Petra getting brought back up in this. But I love that Algumalgum, that the grasshoppers are good luck. So Annie smashing the grasshopper, she just made herself a bad omen. Just ruined it's all Annie's fault. We can all pin it on Annie now. Everything went downhill when she smashed that grasshopper. It was all some foreshadowing by Isayama. Tsukiyami Shu noted back in season 1, I love this, that back in season 1 when Aaron and Reiner are dueling each other, as soon as they finish, Reiner says, okay, now this time you play the bad guy. And that's where the conversation ends. So many like little foreshadowing nuggets sprinkled throughout this. Again, I'm going to be really excited when I go back and read the manga because I'm going to get to see this all for a second time. And knowing what I know now, going back and reading it is going to be such an experience. I'm so ready. Sacha Purvis also noted, carrying on from the last comment, that, and this is my last comment before I start. I know I'm going in 17 minutes in this. It's a long intro. What do you all expect? But Isayama himself, and I really love this, has said in an interview that he sees himself as Armin in the story. And Armin it makes sense. Armin's the narrator. It's kind of like Tolkien, J.R.R. Tolkien in Lord of the Rings. He probably saw himself as Frodo, and Frodo's the narrator of it. So it's like, or Bilbo is the narrator for part of it. But yeah. And then Armin, I love this. He said in an interview that Armin's love of human dignity defines him, that he rejects nihilism and has the human capacity to look beyond violence and seek hope. That's what I'm wanting. That's what I was hoping that Aaron was going to do, was realize this whole thing about human dignity and seeking beyond hope, seeking beyond violence, this hope that we could create communication and stop the cycle. But I don't think that's it with Aaron. I don't think that's the case. Now with Armin, we saw in the last episode him looking down from Bertolt, him looking down from the Colossal Titan and thinking of Bertolt. We saw that in play. So I'm like, maybe Isayama is he's setting stuff up. I'm curious after this battle is all said and done. He's setting stuff up with Aaron and Mikasa and Armin. Our trio of characters have slowly grown and developed over the course of this series. And after this battle's over with, I'm like, they're going to have a conversation about this. And I'm really curious what that conversation is going to look like. I'm a little worried about it, if I'm honest. But yeah, I connect with Armin too. I did that personality thing, and I'm like an INFJ or I think I'm INTJ or INFJ, one of the two. But it's whatever Armin is, I am. So I'm like, I definitely connect with Armin. Most definitely. So this intro's been 20 minutes. You all should have not expected anything less. But you guys have all left really good comments, so how could I not talk about it before we start? So, cheers, right? I poured myself a glass of wine against all better judgment and have decided to sit down and watch this episode. Episode 8, The Assassin's Bullet. So, it's fine. We're just reaching the end, maybe, of this battle. I don't know. I feel like this is the climax of Aaron versus Reiner. This is going to be like the big climactic battle. Who knows? Reiner is pretty spent, though, so I don't know how this is going to go. But let's find out, shall we? We're going to start episode 8 of season 4 Attack on Titan and wish us all the best of luck here in 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Oh. You know, in hindsight, I shouldn't be surprised. There was so much, looking back on this, I had to ditch the cardigan. I'm sweating. So looking back, over the course of since Sasha showed up in episode 6. It's been weird. Sasha's been weird the last couple episodes. I don't know. Here's the thing about Sasha. We'll talk about this in the recap, I'm sure. But Sasha has been one of those characters that I was like, if anybody is going to die out of our main cast, it's going to be Sasha, because she should have died back in season 2. And the editor was like, no, Isayama, don't kill Sasha. Don't do that. And so I'm glad that Isayama didn't kill her. And looking back now that I'm thinking about it, there's so many little moments leading up to this episode and leading up to her death that I was like, oh, of course she's gonna die. That it all makes sense. So Sasha dying of the Levi squad that's current, to me, Sasha is the least surprising. I am floored that it just happened. It was just like, that was it. Not in a battle, it was just Gabby. Gabby killed her. And we're going to talk about this with Whiteboard Coon, but I was like, oh. So yeah, Sasha's had death flags since season 2. Since the moment that I found out that Isayama was going to kill her, and then the editor's like, no, don't. I was like, well, Isayama's going to kill her at some point, because if you've ever written a story or you've ever wrote a character and somebody was like, oh, don't do that, in the back of your head, you're like, but I want to. so I'm like, in my head, I'm going, Isayama's going to kill her at some point. It's just a matter of when. Now, granted, the way that he did this here and what she symbolically represents is, and what it does for Jean's character and Aaron's character is fascinating. And I like the Isayama, because here's the thing, if Sasha, I think that her death is more meaningful in the context of this episode than it would have been in the context of season 2. In this episode, her death ties to a lot of different things. It ties to Gabby's character, to Jean's character, to Aaron's character, to Connie's character. Mikasa and Armin crying over her, like seeing Mikasa like shed tears and show so much emotion. Oh my gosh. Because yeah, these are characters they spent nearly a decade with, that they've known for nearly a decade and have been, through trials and tribulations with. Of course they have this deep connection. But yeah, God, what was this episode? This episode, I felt, by the end credits, I felt numb. I had to like get up and take my cardigan off and like stand there for a second and be like, okay, what was this episode? Well, welcome to the halfway point of part 1. Welcome to a fourth of the way through the final season. Or a fourth. We are only a fourth of the way through this final season. A fourth, damn it. Not gonna make it. But yeah, because if she had died back in season 2, if she had died back in episode 3 of season 2 or episode 2 of season 2, her death then, it was like, you were going to have just, and a lot of people speculate that it's Connie's dad was the Titan eating on the woman in the house. Okay, but you were going to have her just die by Connie's dad's hands and with nobody else around and that's it? No, that death is not nearly as impacting, as impactful as this death is. Like this has a lot more weight to it, a lot more meaning. I'm amazed at how it went down. Yeah, and I was commenting on it again. We could talk about this. I was commenting on it throughout the last couple episodes. I'm like, well, we have all these extra Survey Corps members here that we don't know, these randos here. They're going to be the only ones that die. And it's like, really? That's going to be our only casualty? They just lost, the other side lost Willie Tybur, the Warhammer Titan. Our only casualty is going to be these red shirts? Nobody from the Eldian side's gonna die? Okay. And then it's Sasha. We lose Sasha. Which, to be honest, I'm gonna talk about this, but I realized I say the phrase, I went back and rewatched episode 6 reaction. I said, we're going to talk about this a lot. And I was like, do I always say that? It's like, it's one of those things where you realize you do something and you're like, I don't like it. So let's talk about Sasha. Sasha, R.I.P. girl. Obviously, we'll have a recap with her in it, but so let's talk about Sasha. Yep. So she lasted 2 more seasons than she did in the past. Honestly, though, I'm trying to think of what all did Sasha do the last 2 seasons? I feel really bad saying that, but I was trying to think in this, because she's always been the sharpshooter. I was like, what did she do during season 3? During season 3, she was with them. She was with which group was she with? I was trying to think of where Sasha's been. I may have to go back before the recap and recap Sasha's entire purpose, because I feel like, here's my problem with, I think that once Isayama kept Sasha alive, Isayama really didn't have much he had planned to do with Sasha because she was dead. So he was like, well, what do I do with her? So I feel like Isayama has conveniently written her out of a lot of the story because he didn't have anything for her to do, because she wasn't supposed to be there to begin with. He had already planned the story without her, and then the editor's like, please don't kill her. So I do think that she plays an integral part in this fourth and final season and the episodes that she's in, because of the parallels with Gabby, and then representing the whole thing with Jean and his whole thing. Flock. I wanted to like roll my eyes into the back of my forehead at Flock, because it's we're going to talk about this. But yeah, so Sasha, so there was, looking back on the last couple episodes, there's been some like foreshadowing moments with her character that was like, oh wait. So the one thing, Sasha versus Gabby, I love that this all tied back full circle. And we go with the thing that Sasha could not kill Gabby because she was a little kid, but Gabby did not hesitate. And it almost seems like, in hindsight, we'll go back and rewatch it. I'm going to go back and rewatch the episode, but it almost seems like it was like a reflex. She made the shot and then she was like, oh, I shot someone. And then it was Sasha. Like, she just point blank shot her in the chest. Like, there wasn't much they could do at that point. But that leads to this whole decision of Jean, because Flock's just like, toss him off the ship. Flock's like, see ya, kids. I'm like, don't you want to see? I'm like, Flock, these kids managed to make it onto an airship and kill a squad member. They seem like they might be important. These might just not just be random kids. Maybe you should vet them first before you chuck them off an airship. I don't know. Maybe they could be important. And Zeke, I knew it. I knew something was suspicious. This is why I watch ahead. Because in episode 6 and 7, I was like, Zeke is acting super suspicious. What's going on? Why'd he just walk out to the dock? What's the deal? And this confirmed it. Zeke was suspicious, and it was all part of a plan. We don't know that plan yet. We're going to find out that plan, but it was all part of a plan. Zeke said I'd come rescue you, and the tables have turned. Aaron has rescued Zeke. Perhaps. This is fascinating. I'm just... Okay. Alright. Or maybe Zeke's gonna double cross them all. We don't know, right? We need to find this out. Okay. Alright. Let's do this. Yeah, wow, we need to talk about that with Zeke. I hadn't thought about that. Okay. There's a lot to discuss in this episode, I want to talk about Sasha first and get this out of the way, because that was just Connie. I feel so bad for Connie. Connie's lost everybody. Connie and Levi, they need to just form a support group because they've lost everyone near and dear to them in their family. Like, Connie lost his entire family to Zeke. That's the other thing. Connie's on the same ship as Zeke. How are we going to... We have to go back and talk about this now, because Connie's on the same ship with Zeke, and Connie was so shell-shocked about Sasha, he didn't have time to even process or interact with Zeke, but Zeke transformed his whole family into Titans. Are we going to talk about Connie's reaction to that? There's so much in this episode. But yeah, so there was that. And I want to say that the last couple episodes, including this one, Sasha was not her normal, friendly, hyperactive self. She was very quiet in these episodes. And a part of me wondered if maybe she was just feeling really melancholy about this whole situation of them being there against their will. Yeah, Hanji confirms that Aaron just lured them over there. He was like, I guess you'll come get me. I'm a hostage now. Sorry. Aaron continues the tradition of being a hostage. Aaron continues the tradition of being the damsel in distress. Only this time he planned it. So Sasha was oddly quiet in this episode. And then the moment that, in hindsight, I thought it was a really sweet moment. I was like, the moment when Connie spoke too soon and was like, we all survived again. In hindsight, wow. Wow, Connie, really? Okay. Yep, that should have been a sign. And then, here's the one thing. I do think that it is important that Sasha functions. Sasha's big point in all this is a functionality of handling Gabby and Falco. and what Jean, and testing Jean as a leader. I about said Sean. Jean as a leader. Because, yeah, in these episodes, Jean has proven himself as a leader. Because Jean's whole thing was minimizing casualties. No, we don't want everyone to die. And Falco's just like, chuck them off. And he's like, got the mob mentality. And Jean's like, no, when's it going to stop? And there's so much with that. Okay. But we need to go through this episode proper. Wow. Okay. In all honesty, Declaration of War was amazing. These last 2 episodes have been good. This episode, was just... because it's all these things finally coming together. Like, we were rounding out an arc. I feel like we have... if we're going to split this final season into 4 pieces, we have the 2 pieces of part 1, and we'll have part 2 in 2 pieces. This is the end of part 1. God, what an ending. This is rounding out part 1, and we're going to go... I'm hoping next episode we're going to flash back and have some kind of going back to the past and seeing what we're going to do with that. I hope that we get something in that. But, yeah. Okay. Let's go through this episode. Let me turn the sound off. And I love that we have... we're going to get some Titan ass. We got to get Aaron's booty on screen. But I like that there's a pillar, a distinct pillar between Reiner and Aaron, like visually representing the divide between the 2 of them. These 2 characters that are very, very similar. Quite similar indeed. But yeah, Aaron has got old Porco by the head. What we gonna do? And I love that we have the green eye and the yellow golden eye looking back at each other. Mm-hmm. And yeah, Gabby and Falco are so happy to see Reiner. They're like, oh, he's going to come and save us. But yeah, about that. Yeah, Reiner misses and Aaron just pummels him and takes him down. And my, how the tables have turned, you know? Back in season 1, Aaron could barely put up a fight against Reiner. And here, Aaron has transformed 3 times and he punches Reiner once, and that's all that it takes. But this Reiner is a lot different than the Reiner of the past. The Reiner of the past was driven by his mission. He had resolve. He had all of this. He had this will to live. And now Reiner is just hanging by a thread. Really his only will. God, and now Gabby and Falco are gone and Colt saw them leave. So, oh my God. So let's look at the damage control. You do damage control of this. Up on this one side, I'm going to do... where we're at with the warrior crew, because things look pretty grim for them. Things look pretty grim for the warrior crew right now. We've got with the warrior crew, Colt saw Gabby and Falco leave. Reiner is barely functioning. Porco is probably going to have a blow to his self-esteem. Has a blow to the ego that he did not get the founding Titan as he self-proclaimed that he would, surprising no one. I don't like Porco, but I do feel kind of bad for him in this case because, 1, he had all his limbs ripped off and cut off, and 2, he had to watch basically because of Porco, the Hammer Titan is dead. So it's Porco's fault because Porco's jaw was used. And now Porco was saved by Reiner. So Porco gets to, I feel like there's going to be a scene up and coming where Porco's like, well, we're even now. My brother saved you and you saved me. So, and whatever. Peak is barely hanging on. Peak is barely alive. We don't know if Peak's going to live or if they're going to hurry up and give somebody her power because they're like, crap, she's about to die. We need to hurry up and transfer the power before something happens. If they're going to do that. And let's see, the Hammer Titan is dead. Warhammer is dead. And Zeke has supposedly switched sides. Or has revealed that he switched sides. I knew it. I was like, something's up. Something's up. But now I have more questions. I'm like, why is Zeke over with them? And I'm not going to be surprised if there's some kind of double cross in this. And we'll go through that more. But yeah. Marley suffered a huge blow with all of this. Yeah, Sasha is dead. R.I.P. Sasha, for sure, Potato Girl. We're going to mourn her in the recap for real. But they just, suffered a huge loss. Like, not only the Warhammer, but their war chief is gone too. And they don't have any candidates except Colt. Colt's the only one there. Udo and Sophia are dead. Yeah. Udo and Sophia are dead. So 2 of their candidates that they had primed and ready to inherit the Armor Titan, they did. So Reiner's going to have to deal with that. And then Gabby and Falco, they're gone too. They're with the enemy. And Colt is going to, it's just going to be Colt and Reiner and Porco and Peak if Peak lives. That's it. That's, okay. Magath may be dismantling the Titan unit before he even expected to. Okay. Yeah, and just Reiner just gets crushed by all that. And I want to comment that Mikasa looks so cold. And we find out now at the Survey Corps that this was Aaron led them there. So yeah, Aaron's whole deal is that Aaron led the Survey Corps there. Yep. And let's see. Mikasa is not happy. But Mikasa's problem is that she loves Aaron. And so even though she's not happy with him, she's not happy that he's done all this stuff, she's like, well, I'm not happy with you right now, but what can we do? And then you got Gabby and Falco saying, and then Aaron notices something. So it's curious. Aaron noticed something in that moment with Reiner. Reiner grabbed Porco and grabbed him to take him away, right? And so then Aaron noticed something and he just stopped, okay? And then, yeah, he just gets out of the Titan and that's it. So it's curious. He says, I think the fight's over. We're out of strength. But I'm like, is Aaron out of strength? Because he didn't seem like it. He didn't seem like he was out of strength. I don't think he wanted to kill Reiner. I don't think Aaron wanted to kill him. That's the thing about it. Because, yeah, Mikasa's just staring at him. And Mikasa looks a lot like Levi in that moment, where she's standing up and you see her, like, her head's, like, buried in the scarf. But the way her hair blows and everything, she looks a lot, especially since her hair is shorter now, she looks a lot like Levi. Which, she's an Ackerman, why wouldn't she? But, yeah, Aaron's saying we're out of strength. At this point, I can't exactly kill Reiner. And Reiner was still going. Even with his jaw busted and everything. I'm like, could you not kill Reiner? I feel like he could. I feel like Aaron could have killed Reiner if he wanted to. I mean, that one punch from Aaron smashed his jaw through. I feel like he could have. Or maybe he just sensed that Reiner was gonna, I don't know. If Reiner was just gonna keep fighting until he died, and Aaron doesn't want to kill him yet, but why doesn't he want to kill him? Is it just because is it because he feels bad for Reiner? Is it because he empathizes with Reiner? What's the deal? What is the deal? I feel like there's something else there, and we as the audience just aren't privy to it yet. Because Mikasa turns around, and she's like, Mikasa doesn't care. She's like, well, fine. If you're done with this whole fight, you got what you wanted. You got the hammerhead. You got the Warhammer Titan. That's what you wanted. Let's peace out and go. We're done here. Let's not waste any more time. And then, yeah, Aaron looking right down at Reiner. Like, he feels sorry for him. And he says, see you later, Reiner. Like, I'll come back and we'll fight again someday. And then Reiner, like, completely collapses. Yeah. So here's the thing. Yeah, Reiner collapses and saves Porco, but he was barely hanging by a thread. I think Aaron let him go. I think Aaron doesn't want to kill Reiner yet. For whatever reason. And we don't know why he doesn't want to kill Reiner. And I don't know. I guess you could argue that he doesn't want to kill Reiner, but I was like, if I say kill Reiner, it's eat Reiner, because I think part of me thinks that Aaron wants to collect all the Titan Shifter powers, and that would include Reiner and the Armor Titan, but maybe not. I don't know how that works. I don't understand, but it's just very weird that I think Aaron, if he had wanted to, could have killed Reiner, and he chose deliberately not to. And that's the question. Or I think he could have walked over and taken Porco and killed him, but he chose not to, and I'm so curious why, and I'm assuming maybe later we'll find out. But yeah, they just peace out and leave him and go to this airship. And so yeah, here's the other thing that was just leading there. Jean, protect the airship from below. Use every last shot you've got. God, Jean looks so good in this episode. Our king Jean looks amazing in this episode. For the record, the time skip has done wonders for our boy John. Cheers to him, because Jean in this episode, I was like, there's a reason you've been in S tier this entire time, my friend. A big reason indeed. But yeah, Jean looks so good. But yeah, he's trying to get everybody protecting everyone. And so then the one guy says they're retreating. Kozlov says they're retreating. Does that mean that we're safe? Define safe, because you're at war with them now. Yeah, and so, yeah, here's the thing. Gabby, like, they're running. They're running away. They're not going to fight anymore. And, God, you guys are so right. She is Eren. She is season 1 Eren. Is the I'm going to kill all the Titans. I'm going to kill all the Eldians in her mind. Like, she is Eren to a T. Like, gets mad that they're running away. Like, the stuff that she does in this episode, this is all things that Eren would do. Eren from season 1 would have done this. And Falco's almost like Mikasa, which I put on Twitter today. I was talking about like horoscope stuff. And so I just, I rarely do this, but I was like, I'm like, okay, I'm far enough along. I can just Google search Attack on Titan horoscope pictures, not dialogue, text. I didn't want to read any wiki pages or nothing like that. No, but I just want like a picture. Because, you know, people usually do like those compilations of photos together. And I was like, surely somebody's like made a collage of Attack on Titan Taurus characters. Like Connie's a Taurus. I'm a Taurus. And so, but my friend's really big into astrology. And so I'm like an Aquarius moon, whatever that means. So I wanted to find Aquarius characters for Attack on Titan. Mikasa is an Aquarius. Kenny Ackerman is an Aquarius. Ymir is an Aquarius. Falco is an Aquarius. I was like, oh, look at all these characters having similar signs. And authors do that intentionally. So I felt in this moment, my point is, I felt in this moment like Gabby running away was like Eren season 1. And Falco strikes me as like Mikasa. Like, I've been comparing Falco and Gabby to like different parts of Armin and Eren's personalities. But in this moment, as Gabby's running towards them screaming, "You won't get away, I'm going to kill you," and Falco's trying to like stop her, I felt like Gabby was like Eren and Falco was like Mikasa. And I was like, oh, okay. And Falco does, here's the thing too. Gabby, much like Eren was in season 1, is oblivious to the fact that Falco, much like Mikasa in season 1, is in love with them. So, there's a lot of parallels there. So you got your nice, happy Falco. Falco is to Gabby what Mikasa is to Eren. Fun times. Fun times indeed. So yeah, let's skip through this intro here. This episode was just so good. And the animation in this episode, God, the animation. This is probably one of my favorite look-wise. Like the first couple of episodes, like episodes 1 through 3, Mappa did a really good job with the lighting and the shading and the use of shadows and color, especially talking about Reiner's backstory. It was really well done. And this episode, it all takes place at night. And there's darkness to it, but the way that the lighting works and the shadows, like everybody looks really good. Like this is probably one of my favorite animated episodes. There's a lot of screen cap. There's a lot of looks and glances and poses that I'm like, these all could be thumbnails. So this one will be a hard one to pick the thumbnail for. Assassin's Bullet. So this guy, Lobov. I feel like I've seen Lobov before. This guy seems familiar, and I'm sure in the comments everybody's gonna be like, "Oh, it was that guy," and I'm like, "Oh, I'm sure that's what's gonna happen." But Lobov, as soon as Lobov showed up on the scene, he had red shirt vibes. I was like, "This guy's gonna die," and I'm not trying to body shame anybody, but I was just like, really? No, he just has that look of a character that's gonna go down in like 5 seconds. And I'm like, nope. Don't see it happening. And he does. Gabby shoots him so she can get up to the airship. I did not think that Falco was going with her. We'll talk about this. But yeah, so Mikasa goes up there with Eren to the top of the ship and climbing onto the ropes and everything. And this confrontation, when the door opens and it's Armin looking down at Eren, they all look so disappointed in him. Like Aaron and Mikasa look so disappointed. And that shot of Armin's face, Armin looking down at him. First of all, Armin has matured so much. Like Armin is a grown-ass man now. Puberty has hit Armin and has done him wonders. For the record, puberty's done everybody's wonders in this series. But Armin and his disappointment. He just looks disappointed in Aaron. Because yeah, I talked earlier on in this reaction in the last couple of episodes, but Armin seems like Armin is that beacon of hope in this series. That Armin seems like he understands the cost of this violence, and he doesn't. Armin and Jean, they've been a duo since season 1. Armin and Jean both seem like they are on the same page. Armin and Jean want to find a way to stop the violence. That's what it seems like, right? They seem like they want to find a way to stop the violence. They both seem like they're on the same page, right? They want to find a way around it. And Armin, like in the last episode when he was up at the top where they blew up the fleet and he was saying, Bertold, are these the sights that you saw? He was remorseful. He's like, why does this have to keep going on? And Jean feels the same way. And Aaron does not. So you can tell they're both kind of angry and disappointed at their friend. And Aaron's their best friend from childhood. So they're both kind of upset with him. But it's like, sometimes you have friends that when you're upset, you just don't say anything. This is one of those moments. Like my best friend and I, if we have an issue for like 5 minutes, we just don't say anything. We're like, and then we get over it. And this seems like one of those moments where they just look at him. And then, yeah, Aaron. And now the question is, how long has Aaron been there without them? That's the question. And I love the shot of Mikasa and Aaron hanging there. And Armin is just like, not towering over them, but he has the high ground, Armin does, and he's just sitting there clothed in black and just looking ominous there in the doorway. It's a good shot. But yeah, he reaches down and he reaches for Aaron's hand. Not saying a word. And Mikasa just being like, yep, we're back. I love it. And so then, yeah, you have the two Titan shifters. You have Armin and Aaron helping each other. And that hand, and it's such a symbolic gesture. You had Aaron shaking hands with Reiner in Declaration of War. You had way back at Warrior, you had Aaron helping Armin up atop the wall, and now Armin is helping him back up. And it's like, but again, it's a gesture of trust and a gesture of friendship. That whole I'm reaching for you and grabbing you, pulling you back up. And the thing of it is that in that moment, and Hanji's going to talk about it later, that they've lost trust with Aaron. They've lost a lot of trust with Aaron over this whole deal. But him reaching down his hand is clearly another sign that there's still some trust there. They haven't completely let go of Aaron yet, right? And it's fascinating, this whole idea about trusting Aaron in this whole deal. When we get to Hanji, we'll talk more about it, because at that point I was just like, it's all coming together. All the dots are all connecting. The points are all colliding. But Sasha's dead. What's happening? But yeah, that trust is still there. I was almost thinking for a split second that Aaron wasn't going to take his hand. For a split second, I thought that Aaron was going to like just hoist himself up and he wouldn't. And he'd try to do it without Armin. That's what I thought was going to happen for a second. But no, there's still some trust there. It's lingering, but it's still there. And then, yeah, they help him up. And then, God, it's like all the season 1 callbacks, right? This whole 4th season now is all making everything come full circle. And then, yeah, damn, you're a filthy sight. As soon as that word hit, I was like, oh, Levi's going to kick the shit out of him. And he does. So, yeah, you fall in a pile of shit. Levi is like, I get off my lawn. He's had it with these kids. I can relate to Levi. He's like, Aaron. And then he says Taicho. He still calls him Captain Levi. Still calls him Taicho. Mm-hmm. That mutual respect is still there. But here's the thing. Aaron is just like dead shark eye Aaron. Like he's not... Because even back in season 3, I missed the Aaron from the start of season 3 where they were all cleaning the house. And he was like, hurry, we have to get this done so that Captain Levi doesn't get mad at us. This Aaron doesn't even care. He's just like, oh, hey, you gonna kick me? You're probably gonna kick me, aren't you? And he does. They also draw Levi really good in this show. I'm like, you draw Levi really, really well. Okay. And then, yeah, he just knocks him straight against the ship. And Armin and Mikasa are like, oh crap. And then Armin holds her back just like in episode 14 of season 1. He holds her back just the same. Where he's like, no, 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 no. And Mikasa gets held back and Armin's like, come on now. And he looks so sad. Like he's like, it's gonna be okay. This has to happen. There's so much unspoken tension between the three of them. There's so much unspoken tension between Armin, Mikasa, and Eren that I want to go back and find out what's been happening in the last 4 years. Like, I hope we are going to see what's been happening because there is something that's happened between the three of them. Some things have gone down and it's clearly affected their friendship to a big extreme. And I'm so curious to know what it is. Right? But yeah. And then Mikasa, and I like that Mikasa has to look up at Armin now. Like, Armin's taller than Mikasa at this point. She has to look up to him, and she's like, fine. And then, yeah, they all corner him, and Levi's like, this brings back memories. You have such a kickable face. God, they draw him so good. But yeah, you have such a kickable face. I will not get over that. And after you're tied up, we'll have a chat. And then Eren's just like, that's fine, whatever. I explained everything in my letters. It's like a kid that knows he's done bad. This kid knows he's done something bad, but he's like, I wrote you a letter about it. It's fine. I explained everything. You should know by now. Oh. Mm-hmm. Did you not understand it? Like, did you not get what I was saying? And those eyes, the eyes that they're just so dead and emotionless. And I hate it. I hate that Eren has that just he's so done with everything. And that's when Levi's like, oh, that face, it reminds me of the rotten shits who lived underground. Yeah, so Levi knows exactly what Eren looks like. Levi basically is comparing Eren to someone who has lost hope for the future. Those people underground that are just living in the present, they've lost hope for the future. That's what Levi sees. And it's in contrast to Armin, who is thinking about a possibility of there being a future with hope. So it's like Armin and Eren being the opposites in this situation, and Levi recognizing that and calling it out. But yeah, and Levi would know and Levi would know how Eren feels because Levi's been in that same position too. He knows that dead shark eye look. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. But yeah, he's like, I never thought I'd see it on you. Yeah, right? That's the thing. Of all people to lose hope and to look as just like apathetic. Eren is the last person I would expect to be apathetic in this situation. But he is. But he looks like it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, up until the end of this episode, he looks pretty emotionless. And he's just kind of like, just do whatever. And then he's like, cheer up. Levi says, everything happened like you wanted. Like you wrote in your letters, right? And then that's when they both look over. And then, okay. So I was wondering when we had the steam, when we saw the steam, Levi's like, everything ended up like you wanted. And then Eren looks over and sees Zeke. I knew it. Last episode, when Zeke, it was too good to be true. It seemed too easy. It seemed like Zeke let Levi attack him. And Levi making the smoke grenade to drag Zeke out of there. That's exactly what he did. He drug Zeke away. He drug him away in that moment while under the cover of everything so they could get out of sight. I was like, yep, that's exactly what happened. Mm-hmm. It all makes sense. And so when they had the steamboard ship, I was like, what is the steam? Why is there steam there? Did they capture a Titan? And it wasn't clicking in my head. And for a second, because we cut straight from the steam to the steam from the ship going out. And I thought, okay, well, maybe it's some kind of like attack that they're using to like get people away. Like it's some kind of diversion or something. I thought that's what it was, but no, it was Zeke. Oh my God. Ugh. And so, yeah, then the Eldians are trying to stop him, but, I mean, what are you going to do with bullets? It's not really going to... I mean, yeah, I say that. Gabby shot that guy in the face. But Jean's like, everybody go in. They have nothing to take down an airship. Right? They could hurt us, but they can't hurt the airship. And then that's when, as soon as he said, you go, I'll hold the rear, I was like, you're dead. As soon as he did that, I'm like, you're not making it out of this episode. Because I was like, there's something's going to happen. And I didn't know exactly what. I had a theory about Gabby. We'll get to it. But again, Jean, lucky dude. Jean is always an inch away from death. Jean is like always an inch away from death. He's been an inch. Oh my God. Yeah. Jean has been so close to death. Back in episode 6 or 7, or episode 7 or 8, Aaron saved him from that couple coming through the window. Like, Jean was being leaderly back at Trost, and inside the chapel or whatever, the Titan couple was about to eat him, and Aaron came in at the last moment and saved him. That was one time. And then there's been times where Peek or somebody could have killed him and didn't. They took Reiner and ran. There's been several different little moments where Jean was like an inch away from death, but he didn't die, right? There was episodes with the Thunder Spears, with other things, where he didn't die, but he was really close. And I got really nervous. And if he had stayed out there, I mean, he may not have gotten shot by Gabby. Jean's pretty resourceful. He may have been able to avoid it, but we don't know for sure. But Lobov could have saved his life just now. Funny that. And then he says, I'm a recruit. Not a captain or whatever. And he says, nobody needs the garrison anymore. Yeah, I mean, that's a really good point. I hadn't thought about that, about how the military structure would change. But yeah, if you know about Marley and about these attacks and the walls are secure, it's not a Titan attack you're worried about anymore, then yeah, you don't need the garrisons. They're all basically going to become the Survey Corps and the Interior or the military police. It's either to protect Historia and the royal family, or it's to fight Marley. Your garrisons are going to become one or the other, because what's the point now? I mean, you got the walls, but it's not like they're not expecting Bertolt or Reiner them to come in anymore. The game's kind of changed. So that's interesting. That's interesting that he says that. And he says, especially not some overpaid geezer. And then, oh God. And then just, Sasha and Connie, like, I'm going to take a picture of that. That's really good. Them both reaching for him. Yeah, them both reaching for him. Ugh. And then, yeah, he comes up there. And, oh my gosh. They're waiting on the Lima squad, the three of them. Our chaotic trio. As far as we know, there are 6 casualties. Well, 8. Episode 8, 8 casualties. You have Lobov and Sasha there. They're the 7, 8 casualties. Mm-hmm. And then John's mad about that. He's like, there's too many casualties. He didn't want to lose anybody on this mission. Because, yeah, essentially, if you think about it, Aaron went off on his own. Aaron going off on his own forced them to come get him. So, in a sense, Aaron caused the 8 casualties. Right? He caused Lobov and Sasha and the other 6 to die. I'm amazed they only lost 6. I'm amazed that during that entire fight, because we saw like the artillery shells take some of them out. I'm amazed. I'm not going to go back and count, but I'm amazed that we only lost 6 and all of that. Like, that was actually surprisingly, for as much damage as was being dealt, that's a surprisingly low number for a battle like this. It's not good, but it's still really, it's a lot lower than I thought was going to happen. Because, I mean, look back at the other Survey Corps missions. Like, when you go back to Shiga and Sheena, like, how many Survey Corps members did Zeke kill? That's where this gets interesting. This whole thing with Zeke, like, Zeke killed a lot of their men. A lot. And he's on the same ship with Flock and Connie. And everybody's okay with this? We're going to talk about this. This blows my mind. Okay. But anyway, getting back to Flock, he's like, that's nothing compared to the damage that we did. Mm-hmm. And John and them are just like, okay. It's a huge victory. The new Eldian Empire's first battle ends in victory. The new Eldian Empire. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Okay. Okay. I hated Flock in this moment. I really did. I was like, ugh. You know why? Because here's why. This is why I hated this moment. And I just like wanted to roll my eyes back into my spine. Because it's a mirror of Midnight Train. It's a mirror of the scene with Grice, with Colt, hoisting Gabby up in there. Again, an amazing parallel. You have Gabby, the hero, in Midnight Train, and you have Gabby, the ultimate enemy, in this, because in Midnight Train, they were, praising Gabby as the hero of Marley because she killed all those Allied forces members. And here, Gabby is the ultimate monster and enemy because she killed their one friend. It's like such a parallel, such a contrast, right? But you have Flock and the new Eldian Empire. Interesting. We're going to discuss how that works with Aaron's whole deal, because this is interesting. The new Eldian Empire and their first victory against Marley. Okay, and getting everybody on board. But it's a parallel to Colt on Midnight Train with Gabby and their victory against the Allied forces. Right? It's interesting. But yeah, here's the thing about that though. It made me like sick to my stomach when he was doing that, because we've spent the last 7 episodes realizing how awful this whole situation is, and realizing how horrible it is that these two sides are fighting each other, that both of these sides have people that they care about and that you can empathize with, and you see just how horrible this situation is, and Falco is celebrating it. Falco's like, look at all these people we killed, isn't this great? And we as the audience are like, no, this has been awful. Both sides have lost people they've cared about, and it's been grisly and disgusting, and Flock is just celebrating it. It's like, ugh, just makes me want to barf. But yeah, and then they all cheer. Everybody except Jean and Connie and Sasha. And yeah, they're crying, and they're like, we celebrate in honor of our 6 fallen heroes. And Connie is just like, okay, whatever. And he goes over there, and Sasha's keeping watch. And then Jean says, the first battle, huh? How many more till the fighting ends? So yeah, I feel like Jean and Armin are kind of on the same page. They hate this. They hate the idea that they're having to fight. And they're both like, when is this going to stop? When do we end this? And I feel like Aaron was at that point too last season. Aaron was like, how many more battles do we have to fight to end this? And I feel like Aaron realized it wasn't going to stop. And so he just kind of went off the deep end and was like, well, if it's not going to stop, then I guess we're going to win, right? It's like, just, ugh. But yeah, I'm with Jean. How many more till the fighting ends? And he's so frustrated. And he's like, how many have to die? Yeah, and that's going to tie back to Gabby later on when Sasha dies. How many more have to die? And Connie's just like, and you can tell Connie's really sad about that, and he hates seeing his friends like this. Everybody else is celebrating, and Connie looks like he goes to celebrate, and he turns back around. And then he gets all emotional. He's like, I'm just glad we survived again. And at that point, when he brought them all 3 together in the moment, I was like, this is the most heartwarming, touching, like, feel-good moment. And in hindsight, I'm like, should have been red flag number 1. It's not very fair to the others, but you guys are special. And, to me. And then Jean's just like, well, yeah, of course we're special. He has that look on his face like, of course we are. And then there's this little moment where Sasha, like, takes her hand and, like, grabs a hold of his hand. And my shipper heart, because I ship Connie and Sasha together so much, my shipper heart was like, I love this. And that little soft smile she has, like, my shipper heart was exploding. And then it's like there's a moment of brief happiness. And then Isayama was like, wasn't that touching? Wasn't that a great moment? I'm going to ruin it now. Like, should have known. Isayama doesn't give us happiness in this show. Not really. Not without a cost. And then John's like, that hurts, idiots. Don't hug us wearing your hard-ass gear. Like, he's such a horse face there. He's just trying to play it off. Baka. Yeah. And he's like, you're the idiot for always fussing over your tiny-ass beard. And then I love that they make fun of John's beard. He doesn't really even have one. And then Sasha says, why grow a beard if you can't eat it? I'm with Sasha. No facial hair. No. And Connie doesn't have any facial hair, so make note of that. And then, yeah, she asks if we're eating soon, and they say not till we reach the island. What a useless leader you are. Yeah, so Jean's become a leader in all this. He's become like I feel like Jean is sort of like Levi and Hanji, and he feels like he's a Moblet, like he's in charge of his own, which Moblet was with Hanji, so maybe that's not the best. Mike. Jean is kind of like Mike. He's the head of his own little squad, right? I like that. It seems like he's the head of the squad that Connie and Sasha and Flock and them are all involved in, that Jean's the leader of it. And I like that. I like that Jean's become a leader after all these seasons. I've said since season 1 that Jean could become a leader because Jean, he has the heart. He has good intuition, good gut instinct, but he also has a heart and a soul that he's able to empathize with people. And that's why he's such a good leader. That's why he's our king. Mm-hmm. But yeah, and then we cut back to Gabby and Falco running like no tomorrow. And oh my gosh. This idea that Falco's like, there's no point in running because you can't catch up to it. There's no point. And when he grabs her face like she's about to cry, and then he finally just makes her stop. Mm-hmm. And I love this. These are just 12, 13-year-old kids. They're little kids. And he's just like, that's enough. Yeah, they're flying away. Running after them is pointless. And here's the thing. He's like, even you know that. But Gabby and Falco are on totally different wavelengths. And they've had totally different experiences throughout this entire event. Like, this event has shaped them in very different ways. For Gabby, she's thinking of Zofia and Udo. She's thinking about how she was helpless. She very much has the Eren mentality. She's like, I was helpless. Zofia died under the debris. Udo was stampeded to death. She's like, I stood there and watched it happen, but I couldn't do anything. She's like, I felt powerless and useless. And so she very much has the Eren mentality. She's like, the guards, they stopped me. They protected me. It's kind of like Hannes protecting Eren. She's like, I was protected and I couldn't do anything, but they still did it anyway. And then she adds to it and says, I'm an Eldian and they told me to turn back because it's dangerous. She's like, they knew who I was, but they still helped me. And they were shot by a girl on the roof and died. And the biggest coincidence is it was Sasha that shot them. And that's the other thing. The moment that she mentioned Sasha shooting it, that should have been another. That's red flag number 2, is that Gabby was going to come back and shoot her and not hesitate like Sasha had hesitated. Mm-hmm. Again, when people hesitate in this show, it comes back to bite them. Isayama likes to play that cruel card, and this was no exception. Being an Eldian born in the zone, Gabby says, people spit at me when I go outside. And that kind of ties to Eren being ridiculed for wanting to join the Survey Corps. And she says, I've had a lot of miserable memories, but that's why I try so hard. And that's like Eren tried in season 1, tried so hard to perpetuate this feeling of like vengeance and everything. He tried so hard because he felt like it was going to make him stronger. And Gabby has tried so hard to get past those horrible memories she's had from her childhood. She's like, I want to show the world that Eldians are good people. And that someday we would be proud of our Eldian armbands. Which is sad because I'm like, the armband is still, I guess you're trying to give power to a symbol of oppression, which I get that. It's so complicated. I'm thinking, would you ever get to that point, though? I mean, the armbands themselves are a form of oppression, so would you ever get to that point? And she says, I worked hard believing it could happen, but they crushed everything. They trampled over it. And this is the internment zone was my home. It's where people I care about live. And that, again, ties back to Eren. This was my home. These were my family that were killed. She's exactly like Eren. They're exactly the same. Mm-hmm. Isn't trampling on it unforgivable? And I love the idea of trampling. Like the idea, we've gotten the rumbling, talked about the rumbling where they're afraid that the Titans will just graze and will just basically trample over the earth and destroy it. There's that fear that's been established. And then we have the idea of trampling. She's like, they've trampled over like Titans. They've just come in and they've trampled over my friends, my family, my home. How can I forgive that? So you see where Gabby's coming from because she only has the perspective of the one side like Eren had back in season 1. You get that. But then you cut over to Falco, who doesn't say anything. And Falco just stares at her and she's like, you're telling me not to run after them. Why? Like, she realizes he's been acting weird this whole time. And when she said Zeke was killed before our eyes and we couldn't do anything, that should have been a red flag too, that Zeke was alive. But again, caught up in the moment. Didn't even think about it. Not knowing why any of this happened. But then, here's the thing. Falco has more understanding and knowledge than she does. He does see things differently. It cuts back to him. And again, I think this is why Aaron wanted Falco to listen, so Falco would get an understanding of what's going on, so that Falco could understand the other side of the story. Because Aaron tells Reiner, why was my mom eaten by a Titan? I thought you all were the bad guys. To me, it was all unforgivable. So Falco realizes that. And I can't believe he tells Gabby. He says they were trampled on too. I love it. He puts in the other side of the story. He goes, the enemy was attacked by Marley warriors and lots of people died. Yeah, this is revenge. He's just saying this is what the cycle of violence looks like. I absolutely love that Falco understands the cycle of violence. Falco understands the cycle. And that's honestly been the most relieving thing about this episode. If anything has been relieving in this episode, I've been so worried that Falco is going to get corrupted and be like Gabby and just be focused on revenge. Because Gabby just wants revenge, right? And that's what I was afraid of. I was afraid that he'd be like Gabby and just want revenge, but he's not. Because he's listened to the other side of the story and because he heard that conversation, Falco hasn't been corrupted. If anything, Falco has gained a new insight that he's trying to tell Gabby about. And she's like, well, did you see it happen? Did you see them get trampled? And he's like, well, no, I didn't. And she says, I didn't either. They're like, we weren't there when it happened to them. And Falco's like, well, what difference does that make? How does that change things? And that's when they see the airship pass by. And Gabby doubles down. She says, besides, they're all just devils who threaten world peace. And she can't see past it like Falco can. And that's the problem. She can't look past everything. Like the Braun family's in deep. She's been conditioned her whole life, and Falco. And the difference between Gabby and Falco, too, is Gabby has been conditioned her whole life that the system is good and that they are all just devils. Like her aunts told her this, her family's told her this. She's been conditioned for so long that one speech from Falco is not going to change her mind, right? And maybe after this episode, when they find out from Zeke, we'll see. But Falco has been questioning since episode 1. He's been wanting the violence to stop. So I feel like Falco is more in like the Armin and Jean camp, and Gabby is more in like the Aaron and Reiner camp, you know. It's just, ugh. And then Gabby's like, you should know that. They're cruel devils who always deserved to die. But we, the audience, know that she's wrong, right? And she says they're nothing like us. But Falco's like, no, Aaron said that I'm the same as you. Like, they are the same. Across the sea within the walls, it's the same. And he looked right at Falco when he said that. And now that we're going back to the walls, that's going to be interesting because Falco's going to get to maybe see that perspective, to see what Aaron's talking about. That's going to be interesting. I guess we are going to bring the battle here. I guess we are going to bring the battle back to parody. I guess so. We'll see. But yeah, so Gabby takes off. And then, yeah, Falco's like, well, I'm going to run after her, obviously. And then so Lima squad, that means everybody's aboard. Tell the bridge we're good to ascend. Okay, so I told them. So he was going to go back on there. Lobov was getting ready to go. And that's when we see the kid. And again, this is the thing. The idea of hesitation. He hesitated to shoot her because he said it was a kid. And that's when she shot him and killed him. And he just thuds. He just zips over and thuds. Yeah. And she didn't expect it to hit, but it did. Yeah. And so that, again, that's the hesitation. Sasha hesitated to kill Gabby. Lobov hesitated to kill her, and she killed both of them. So clearly we can't hesitate around Gabby or she'll kill you. That's, if anything we've learned from these 2 episodes, don't mess around with Gabby. And then, yeah, she is smart. Gabby figures out how to maneuver and work the gear. And she makes the decision to go aboard. As soon as she pressed that and looked up, it was like she was going on that ship. And honestly, at this point, when she's like, I'm going to go kill those island devils, I'm like, no, you're going to get to the top. Maybe I thought she was going to get to the top, maybe shoot like one of the guys next to Flock or something. I didn't think she was gonna kill Sasha at the time, or any of our main cast. I thought she was gonna maybe get up there and shoot at one of the random guys and he was gonna die, and then everybody was gonna charge at her. That's what I thought, first of all. Second of all, I did not think that Falco was going with her. I didn't. I thought it was just gonna be Gabby. And I thought that Flock was going to maybe, I don't know. I thought that Flock was going to go up and find Reiner and Colt and tell, because yeah, here's the thing. The government has no context except for Colt on what just happened. All they know is that Colt saw Gabby and Falco go up into the airship with the others. That's all that they know. They don't know where Zeke is. Although Peak seems to be putting it together. We'll get to Peak here in a little bit. Maybe they're putting pieces together and figuring out that Zeke was a traitor. Maybe we're figuring that out. But all they know is from what Colt's going to be able to tell them and what Peak is piecing together. Perhaps. But yeah, Reiner is going to be so crushed by this. And I really thought Falco was going to stay behind. And Falco was going to stay behind and go to Reiner. And they were all going to stage a rescue mission for Gabby. Like, I thought that's what was going to happen. And I'm sure they're going to do a rescue mission now. I'm sure they will, because Reiner wants Gabby back. But that's going to affect things too. Like, it's not going to be a massive assault on the walls of Rose, Maria, and Cena, because Reiner's going to be like, we have 2 candidates there that we need to get back. So we can't just launch a massive assault. We have to go in there and get them. And Annie's still there, presumably. So lots of things could happen. We'll see with this. Maybe Gabby will eat the female Titan. I don't know. That'd be... we'll cross that wall when we get to it, right? But yeah. And then Falco's like, you should not go up in that airship. You're going to end up dead. And then she is prepared to die. She's like, tell my mom and dad and let Reiner and the others know that I fought to the very end. She's like, I'm going up there because she wants revenge for Udo and Zofia. Even if we don't win today, you guys will carry on my will. And that's the Titan shifter mentality. That's the warrior mentality. She's just doing the mentality of a warrior. She's like, well, if I die, someone else will carry on my will. It goes back to Sanas talking to Hanji. If one of us goes, someone just steps in to take our place. It's very much the same cycle of violence. That whole mentality that if one of us goes, it's just going to keep on going on anyway. So yeah. And then poor Colt finally catches up to them and is like, what is going on? And that's when Gabby's like, we need to go. And that look on her face when she says goodbye, you were one of the good ones. I want to take a picture of that shot of Gabby's face. Yeah, you were one of the good ones. Because Falco is one of the good ones. And she just seemed like that look. Yeah. And then at that moment, Falco realizes... He's like, what Reiner told him is like, you have to rescue Gabby from the dark future that awaits us. And he's like, no, this is my chance. I'm not going to let you escape. I'm going to become the Armored Titan. Which you would think if he was going to become the Armored Titan, he would have let Gabby go, right? But that's not it. That's not it. It's not just him becoming the Armored Titan. It's him saving Gabby and becoming the Armored Titan. That's the thing. So he kind of does something, and I love that shot of his eye. Like, he realizes, he's like, I have to protect her. To rescue Gabby. And so, yeah, in that moment, he's like, no. And then, poor Colt. Colt's like, my brother and Reiner's cousin have just been going up there. And then he grabs a hold, and Falco's saying, the one who should inherit the Armored Titan is me. And she's like, then why are you here? Like, no, like, then why didn't you stay with Colt if that was the case? Neither of them are going to inherit the Armored Titan if they're aboard the ship. So what do we do? God. And then Sasha's the one that noticed. Did you hear a sound just now? And then he's like, shut up. We can't hear anything. And then, here's the thing too. It's Flock's fault that Sasha's dead. It's Flock's fault, because if Flock hadn't started the war victory cheer, then they would have heard Gabby get on the ship, and Sasha and them would be fine. So this is all Flock's fault. I'm gonna blame Flock, so I don't have to blame a kid. But no, it is Gabby's fault. Gabby did shoot her. And then, yeah, Connie's like, is Lobob still out there? And then, yeah, and John says he thinks he came aboard. So it's like all these little things adding up. But then, yeah, that's when they turn around and she fires and it goes right into Sasha. Mm-hmm. And it's almost like, I love that in this moment, there is silence. There is nothing. There's no sound. Not a thing. No sound at all. It's just so quiet. It's so quiet. And everybody's just horrified because Sasha just got shot. Right there. Right at her heart. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Mm-mm. So information available for public disclosure. Marley, military's official rifle. Good to know. The military's official bolt-action rifle fires 5 shots and can be equipped with the standard issue knife as a bayonet. They are used regularly by Marley's warrior unit, Army, and Navy. So there are 5 bullets there. Okay. And she used 1 to kill Lobov. She used the second one to kill Sasha. She used the third one to fire, and then it missed. And Falco's just now getting into the ship. And then, yeah. And here's the thing. John goes to shoot at her. And Falco causes her to miss. And it barely misses Jean. Barely. And Falco, like, stopped her. And then everybody just lunging at her. And just beating the tar out of him. Yep. And then Flock and them just saying, you bastard. And then Connie is trying to help. Oh, God, I can't. That lingering shot of Connie with, like, his face, like, barely, like, lingering at her cheek and everything. Why? Why, Mappa? Why'd you have to animate it like that? And they're telling her, hang in there. My dog's like, what is going on? And she says, you're so damn loud. Oh. She says, are we eating soon? God. And then Jean's like, stop the bleeding. Just get some bandages. Like, hurry up. And they're just like, you can make it to the island. And she says, meat. That's all she wanted. And we cut to the damn lantern. The damn lantern, the light. And I was like, if that light flickers, I'm going to be really pissed off. It doesn't. But, yeah, and then they try to save her, but nah. Mm-mm. Not at that point. And Jean freaking out. Like, I love that they're trying to bandage her. And there's this blonde chick. She's not Historia. I don't know why I thought she was Historia, but she's another girl. And they're trying to bandage Sasha up. And Jean's just sitting there, like, with his hands over his head, like, what do we do? Why is this happening? Like, Jean having, like, one of his best friends. Jean losing Marco and then losing this. Mm-mm. And then Flock's just sitting there, like, wrangling Gabby's head around. And they've got the gun. And then Flock's just sitting there, like, twirling around Gabby's head, saying they climbed aboard using Lobov's ODM gear. And John's, like, trying to think, like, okay, what do we do? What do we need to do in this situation? And he says, I'll toss them outside, all right? I just toss them to their death. And then Jean, I love this moment where he says, if we toss kids out of an airship, will the killing ever end? Our king, y'all. For better or worse, Jean has been the deciding factor in a lot of people at the Hangman's Noose, right? Jean has saved a lot of people from the guillotine. That this is true, right? And I feel like he's living out Marco's words. Marco's like, can't we talk about this? And that's exactly what Jean does in this moment. He's like, if we throw kids out of an airship, where do we stop? Like, where do we stop at? No, we're not going to throw them out of the airship. They can't kill anybody at the moment, so let's just keep them and figure something out. And talk to them, right? But yeah, Jean has saved Reiner from death. He just saved Gabby and Falco from death. It's like Jean has spared many a Marley and Eldian from the guillotine. Mm-hmm. God. And I just love how conflicted he is. He's like, I just want this violence to stop. Why are we perpetuating it? And so they decide not to throw him out. God. So while we have Sasha bleeding out and dying, we cut back to McGath and Peak. What happened to Braun and Grice? Oh, they ran off without warning and never came back. Oh, okay. So Braun and Grice, trying to go after to Gabby and Falco. Okay, I'm gonna put this over here, I guess. Try and find a good spot for this. So Reiner and Colt ran off. All right. So Reiner and Colt have run off. We don't know where, but they're probably like desperate to get a hold of them and try to find some way to get to Gabby and Falco. Okay. And then, yeah, we have poor Peak. And Peak just looks a mess. Yeah. And then Peak says, Commander, I remember. Okay. There was a Marley soldier who led Galliard and me into trap. So this woman, we find out, this is a woman, not a man, a woman, a big, tall-ass woman. This tall woman with the short hair. Because, yeah, she's way taller than Porco. Yep, who led me into a trap. All right, and now that you see up close, like before, I thought it was Armin because of the bowl cut. And the eyes, you can see that she has eyelashes, kind of, and the beard looks weird. It looks like a fake. I commented thinking that it was Armin with a fake beard. It's a fake beard, but it was on someone else. Okay. Yep. And then look down. All right. I remember seeing that same soldier 3 years ago. And there's the Onyon guy. The Onyon guy is with her too, right? They were on the scouts. Yeah. So she remembered seeing them on the first scout fleet sent to Parody after Reiner came back. Okay. And McGath's like, shit, that was 3 years ago. So, okay. So 3 years ago on the first fleet ship, the first scout ship that went out to Parody, you had Yelena and I'm gonna call him Onyon. I know it's like Onyon Copon or something like that. I probably said it wrong. I'm gonna call him Onyon for short. But yeah, they were the first scout fleet sent back, and McGath is like, the missing scout ships, shit. She's like, yes, I'm sure of it. They looked so awful with a beard. They look so awful. So maybe it's kind of like Hanji. They don't go by anything. That they look so awful with a beard. And then Levi's like, you gonna wear that forever? And I like that she says, I thought it was well received. No, it looked terrible. Okay. Damn. So yeah, and then they come to Armin. So I'm like, you can see the resemblance. Like Yelena looks kind of like Armin. A little bit. Same bowl cut, same hair. And then you have Yelena on one side of Levi, and you have them on the other. All of them. And Levi's like, they're still celebrating? And then no, Gabby's saying, don't touch me, you devils. Like, just this feral child. The rest of our comrades will carry out the will of War Chief Zeke. Funny that. And she's just this feral screaming child, and Falco's like telling her to stop. And the best thing is that Jean like looks down at her, and Jean doesn't say anything. Jean's got kind of like a mullet started. I'm like, Jean, dude, no. But I like that Jean looks down at her, and it's almost like he sees like the feral Aaron child in her, and he's like, you're just a kid. He's like, you don't know anything. You know, we're just kids. We didn't know anything. And that's tying Gabby back to her cousin Reiner. When Reiner and Bertolt and them attacked Shiganshina, they were just kids. They didn't know anything. They had just been taught that Parody was full of devils and that they deserved to die, and that it was no big deal what they did. And then they got to know the people there, and it changed their minds. And it changed Reiner's mind, at least. And so Gabby's acting the same way. And I wonder if Jean realizes that, if that's what Jean's thinking. Because you don't get inside Jean's head, but I love his expression here. I love the way that Isayama, like, the Mappa adapted Isayama's drawing of him. Like, he just looks so contemplative. And this other guy's like, the other guy kind of looks like Oro a little bit. And he's holding Falco back as Falco's been like, Gabby, shut up. And you also know that Jean's like they think that Zeke's on their side, Kay. And then that's when Flock's like, what do we do with him, Jean? And she like looks up to him. And I love that she turns her head around. And the way she turns her head around and like has it upside down, it's the same exact way that Connie's mom was like looking at Connie, that same upside down expression. It's freaky. She says, us true Eldians are going to haunt you till you die. Us true Eldians. So again, tying back to that whole restorationist, we're the true Eldians mentality, right? Which is funny because that's us true Eldians. That's a restorationist ideology. The whole thing with the restorationists is they thought they were the true Eldians and that parody were the traitors, and they were going to get the founding titan back to get revenge. The whole thing with the restorationists now, which again, the big difference between the restorationists and Marley is the restorationists were going to take back the founding titan to liberate Eldia from Marley. That was the whole point. It's just hilarious in the most morbid of ways because Marley's whole thing has been parody is full of devils. You need to kill them for the sake of your homeland for Marley, but they don't care. The Marleyan people don't care about the Eldians at all. And so the twisted thing about all of this is that Gabby has conditioned herself to think that if I be a good Marleyan Eldian, if I do good for the Marleyan government and do what I'm supposed to do, then they'll respect me and treat me better than dirt. Which is not the case. That's not what they were going to do. And it's hilarious she calls herself a true Eldian because that's the restorationist ideology, but she's thinking of it in terms of being like a Marley Eldian in that she's not wanting to break away from Marley at all. She just wants to be on the same level as Marley. So it's a lot. But it's so interesting in that moment, that conversation. She says, pass that on to your ringleader after I'm dead. Again, the whole restorationist ideology. Aaron saying he's a fellow patriot. Okay. And that's exactly what Jean does. She says, pass that on to your ringleader after I'm dead. And then Jean's like, I'll take you to him. And she's like, what? You can tell him exactly what you told me. So I love that. I love that Jean is getting the mindset of what the other side thinks of them. Like he's getting this mindset and he's like, okay, all right, this is what you think. Well, we'll take you to your ringleader. We'll take you to our ringleader and you can just tell him what you told me. And surprise, surprise, it's going to be the person that, it's the same leader on both sides. So funny that. And then Jean, God, Jean's got so tall too. Everybody's just glowed up. Everybody's glowed up in this series. If it wasn't so morbid and tragic right now, I'd gush a little more. But yeah, he brings him in. And I'm curious. I kept waiting to see if Aaron would react to Falco, because Aaron has spent time with Falco, but maybe we'll get that in the next episode. But God, I love this moment. And this, what a reveal. This was such a damn good reveal. I didn't see this coming. I mean, I'd hoped for it. I'm usually wrong. So I'd hoped that Zeke had, the reveal of this, it just hit me when Gabby and Falco are both like, oh my God. And they're like, how'd you identify the soldier? Oh, and Peek says it's someone I had a particular interest in. So, is Peek confirmed for bi? Are we confirmed? Are we confirmed that Peek is bisexual? Maybe her and Jean can work out great. I feel like, did we confirm this? Is Peek confirmed bi? She likes the dudes on her unit, or maybe Peek is not bi. Maybe Peek is into ladies only. I don't know. Interesting. It's someone I have particular interest in because she's a devout follower of Zeke. Or it's unrequited. It's an so we do get the expression. We get this person here, Yelena. Yeah. A particular interest in. Okay. So yeah, so she liked old Yelena. Interesting. She likes the tall blondes. Okay. Interesting. But because she's a devout follower of Zeke. And so that, interesting. And then Aaron looks over and sees them like, oh crap, you're here, kid. Welcome back. Long time no see. So that expresses, that says some things. If 3 years ago, Yelena and Anyan were part of the fleet, then within the year, okay, so it's been 4 years since the second battle at Shiganshina. It's been a good 4 years since then. 4, closer to 5 maybe. So that suggests that within a year, there was either one of two things happened. Either there was a plan made with Zeke made within a year, or, but, okay. think about this. So, because she's a devout follower of Zeke. So Yelena joined them, and then it cuts to, Zeke, and he doesn't have, his legs are all gone, or hacked up. God, this is such a good reveal. I love it. I love this so much. It's like, yes, Zeke was there. Zeke, this was all planned out. Zeke has been working with Aaron. Why? When? How? I need backstory, and I've never wanted it so bad. I waited 3 seasons to get the basement scene, and now it's like basement part 2. I'm like, where's the backstory? Okay, so basically, there's different ways you can look at this. So 3 years ago, the first scout ships went to Parity. Something happened in that year between Zeke and Reiner getting back to Marley and that first scout ship getting sent out. Something happened. And so the question is, did Zeke, here's the question, did Zeke send Yelena and Anyan to Parity with the intention of helping Aaron and the others, or at least creating some kind of communication? Did Zeke send them there with that intent, or did they go get captured by Parity, and Parity was like, okay, we want, you really like Zeke, tell us about Zeke, and we're going to use you to communicate with him and create this communication back and forth and start something there. So that's the thing I don't know, is when exactly did Zeke get involved with Aaron? What did that look like? What's been happening? Oh, the baseball glove and catch. It ties back to Zeke. It all makes sense now. Zeke and Aaron have been communicating, okay? So Aaron's been writing letters to Parity, but Aaron going over there has met Zeke, and I want to see that conversation, Isayama. If he does not show us Zeke and Aaron meeting for the first time again after Shiganshina, I'll be so pissed off. I'm like, you'd better show us what that looked like and what that conversation was about. Like how, because Aaron and Zeke are just chilling. They're like, hey, brother, what's up? Like, they're just chilling there like brothers, having a good old family reunion. I'm like, what happened? How did that conversation go? And I'm hoping we get that, because now my curiosity is piqued, so to speak. I am so curious what has been happening. But she's a follower of Zeke, so of course she'll do whatever Parity wants them to as long as Zeke's involved. So interesting. And Zeke's like, well, shit, you kids are here. Gabby and Falco, why are you here? Why are you hearing all this? And they're like, they're like, why are you? And she's like, you're alive. Gabby's like, why did you let them capture you? And that's, again, Gabby saying, why did you let them capture you? And Yelena like looks down at him like, they don't know anything. And Zeke's just like, Because here's the thing. They're about to find, their world's about to get rocked, because they're about to find out that Zeke maybe has betrayed them the whole time, and that things are not as black and white as Gabby thinks that they are, that they're a lot more complicated, and this is war. So, and Zeke's like, I got a year left. YOLO! Hashtag YOLO Zeke! Zeke's like, I got a year left. I ain't messing around. I love that look from Yelena down to him. And Zeke, of course, has these stereotypical anime, you can't... See, there are so many flags pointing to Zeke betraying them, and Zeke being... Which Zeke may be he may be a triple agent. He may have betrayed Marley to join Parity, and he may betray Parity to go back to Marley. We don't know. Zeke is one of those characters where he's so damn hard to read. I can't get a read on Zeke. And so I'm super excited and curious by what his conversations with Aaron are going to be like and what this is going to entail. But no. But at the same time, I'm nervous because I could easily see Zeke switching sides. Like, Zeke's like, I got a year left to live. I don't care what happens to anybody at this point. I'm going to die regardless. So, the question is, does he want to perpetuate the cycle or not? That's the question. So, this just got so interesting. But yeah, there's so many flags that point to it now. Zeke's glasses back in when the crew left. Him letting Falco just go right before. Letting Falco lead Reiner to Aaron. Like, Zeke letting Falco lead Reiner to Aaron should have been the big thing. Zeke just casually going along with Yelena without going to the front gate without any hesitation or say against it, whatever. Like, all of that. And so I wonder if Pete telling McGath that the soldier was a follower of Zeke is going to make McGath think that Zeke's a traitor. I'm sure that's what McGath is going to think at that point. So that's curious. But Yeah, that whole thing with Zeke telling Colt that he has a secret. I'm like, it all makes sense now. It all makes sense. So yeah, and then Aaron's like, oh crap, you're here. You kids are here. Funny that. And Levi's like, who are these kids? Levi's like, I'm changing enough diapers around here. Why do I need 2 more? I love it. It's so sad because as many of you have commented, Kenny's whole thing with Annie back in episode 3 was that Kenny didn't ever want to father any children. So Kenny just kind of was celibate against that or was super careful, but just never had any kids. And I feel like Levi is the same like anti-kid policy. He's like, I ain't got time to mess with these kids. No. And then John's like, they killed Lobov and used his gear to come aboard. And they're both like shell-shocked. Gabby and Falco are. Sasha was shot by this one here. And they're both like just dealing with the fact of learning this insanity that this just rocked their world. And then, yeah, John's saying, I don't think she's going to make it. And the moment he says that, Levi looks like, oh, shit. And Mikasa and Armin are both, like, they just instantly run to go find her. And Aaron's just standing there like, yeah, and Aaron's just done. Like, I like that Aaron looks like, Aaron shows a little bit of emotion there, but Mikasa and Armin are definitely showing, because these guys have known each other for a decade. They've been with each other through thick and thin for 10 years. And now one of them could be dead. And then, yeah, then Hanji comes out. Anyan Kopan. So it is Anyan Kopan. All right. And Anyan leaves him in charge. And then says, well, did everything play out as you hoped, Zeke Yeager? So, I mean, they're laying it all on the line. Gabby and Falco are hearing everything. So they're going to hear all of this for all we know. Did it play out as you hoped, Zeke? So this was Zeke and Aaron's plan. Okay. And then Zeke said, yes. And they're both like, yeah, from the start. He said, for the most part, but there are a few miscalculations. And I love this line. And that shot of Gabby and Falco's eyes reminds me so much of Mikasa when she looked inside. He's like, when she looked inside Reiner's, when Reiner has hands around Bertolt in episode 11 of season 2, and Mikasa like looked in, you saw her eyes, and you saw like Bertolt looking back. Their eyes remind me a lot of that moment. Like, it looks straight up out of the manga, and I can't wait to read it. And they're like, Zeke. And then Hanji's like, who are those kids? And I love this line. A few miscalculations. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. I love it. I absolutely love it. It's like, sorry, buddy. We're talking about Attack on Titan right now. We'll play later. My dog is an Aries, much like Jean and Aaron. So, there you go. But yeah, so Zeke planned for a lot of this. He did not plan for Gabby and Falco to get on board the ship. And then Jean yells at Yelena, what the hell happened to trapping Cart and Jaw? You had a mission. And Yelena's like, I did my job. And John says, people died because of you. Because yeah, if theoretically, if Peak and Porco hadn't got out of that hole, then they could have gotten Aaron out of there without the squads getting attacked. And Yelena's like, why are you yelling at me? She's like, I assure you they fell down the hole, but it's still my fault. Yeah, she didn't follow up. She didn't follow up and make sure that the other squad didn't come through, right? Mm-hmm. All right. Interesting. And Levi's like, and to cover for that slip up, the Beast Titan chucked more rocks at us than planned. So yeah, so the whole plan had been for them to trap Porco and Peak in the pit to get them out of the way. That had been the plan. And then Reiner was going to get distracted by Aaron to get him out of the way. That would have just left the Beast Titan and the Warhammer Titan. And then the Beast Titan was going to chuck some rocks. They were going to come in and take him down. And then Aaron was going to get the Warhammer. It was a good plan. But Yelena didn't see it through. Yelena let the other crew get there. And to stall for time, the Beast Titan threw more rocks at them to make it look convincing, and that ties back to him telling Levi that he's running out of time. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Yep, it all is making sense now. All of it is making sense. And that was some clever... I also, for the record, I can't tell you how much I was like fangirling and freaking out despite all the morbidity and all of like the insanity of this episode. The dynamic between Levi and the Beast Titan is maybe one of my favorite dynamics in this whole show now. I freaking love this. The idea that Levi is forced to work with Zeke, even though he's like, I hate you. Like, I want to kill you, but I have to work with you because it's necessary for the mission, for Eldia, for our lives, for our survival at this point. He says that was some clever improv for a clown like you. Wouldn't you say, Hairball? Oh my God. And then, yeah, Zeke's like, don't glare at me like that, Levi. What if I piss my pants? God, this dialogue, it's great. And considering, and you're quite the actor yourself, considering you want to kill me so bad. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's literally just the mission that's keeping him from doing so. And yeah, I love Levi. Oh, this line, I'm the kind of person who saves the best bite for last. Uh-huh. I like to savor the taste of it. So, is that suggesting... So, that dialogue between them, is that suggesting that Is Levi going to become the Beast Titan? Is that the plan? Is Levi going to become the Beast Titan? Seems a bit OP. Seems like it'd be too much. We're giving Levi too much power. And that's when Aaron comes in. Aaron kind of stops the whole chit-chat between them, and he says, we killed the Marley Brass and destroyed their port and fleet. So yeah, that should buy us some time. Yeah, quite a bit of time. Yeah, Aaron's like, Aaron's trying to say like, look, we stopped the fleet. So yeah, their fleet is wiped out, their port is wiped out, and the top brass is out. That's a big blow. And their Titan shifters are all in disarray. So yeah, they've bought some time, maybe. That should buy some time to let them get all together. And then, yeah, Hanji, I'm so glad Hanji's saying what I've been thinking the last 3 episodes. Hanji's like, oh, yeah, that'll buy us some time against Marley until, the whole world launches a joint attack on Parity. Because now, like what Aaron has done, it's not just Marley versus Parity, it's the world versus Parity. Because, yeah, like I said in the last episode or two, the idea that, yeah, if Aaron hadn't gone over there and did this whole operation, it could have just been Marley versus Parity, but now it's the world versus Parity, right? Uh-huh. Every time you're caught by the enemy, we sacrifice lives to get you back. If that's not like the most fourth wall breaking thing I've ever heard, Hanji's just laying it out like it is. Hanji's like, we sacrifice every time we save you. Yeah. And if you think about it, that's happened. Yeah, every time Aaron has gotten taken. When he got taken by Annie the first time back in season 1, they lost the Levi squad to try to get him back, right? They lost the Levi squad, which really they lost the Levi squad before Aaron was even taken, but still, they still died because Aaron was taken. Every time, because he was caught by the enemy. And then in season 2, we had Warrior, and they had the people on the walls when Bertolt and Reiner transformed to take him with them. We had that moment. And then in season 3, you had him and Historia getting taken. When they went inside the cavern to get him back, they lost people. And then, yeah, it's just every time. He's like, and this time you volunteered yourself to get caught. And we had to sacrifice lives to get you back. Mm-hmm. No matter how many it takes. Yeah. And yet knowing that, you went as far to make yourself a hostage. Yeah, she's like, you know that every time the enemy's taken you, we've lost lives to get you back. You know that. And you're aware. And still, what did you do? You ran off and made yourself a hostage, and we had to come get you. So, oh my God. I love this. Yep. Let me go back to this. Mm-hmm. And Aaron's just like, yep. And she's like, just like you hoped, we didn't have much choice. That's what I was saying. I was like, they didn't have a choice. They didn't have a choice. I was like, they had to go get him. He just lured them there. And then this is the line. So they have him tied up there. They're like, this is the line. You put your trust in us, and we lost our trust in you. That's the thing. Aaron, yep. And the Survey Corps lost the trust. That line is everything in this episode. And that explains so much with Armin and Mikasa, with all of them, because Aaron was like, oh, I trust you guys. You guys care about me. You don't have a choice. I'm your trump card. It's literally Aaron being like, I'm the trump card of parody. I'm the thing that you need to survive. You're going to come get me whether you like it or not. You don't have a choice. I'm putting my trust in you. I trust you'll make the right choice. And I trust that you'll save your own lives and choose to survive. And they did. But in doing so, they've lost trust in Aaron. Because they're like, you played us. You basically used us and our trust to get what you wanted. And that wasn't right. And so, yeah, God, Hanji, just saying what needs to be said. Mm-hmm. And then, but Zeke says, okay, well, yeah, you guys can talk about all that. But now we have the founding Titan and a Titan with royal blood. So him and Aaron seem to be on the same page. And I love that shot of him and Aaron together. God, the cost of those sacrifices will be paid through Eldia's freedom. Oh my God, that shot of the two of them together, it's like, I've wanted to see that. Like, yeah, they both kind of, it's funny. It's very funny because they both kind of look like Grisha, but they don't. Like, it's funny because you have Zeke, who, I think Zeke looks more like Grisha than Aaron does. He has Grisha's facial features. He just has Dinah's hair and hair color, but he looks like Grisha. And then you have Aaron, who has, except for his eyes, like the shape of them, Aaron has the hair and like the lower face of Grisha, but his eyes are all Carla's. So it's very curious. But yeah, seeing them side by side, the cost of those sacrifices will be paid through Eldia's freedom. So this new Eldian Empire, freeing Eldia, yeah. Freeing Eldia from Marley. So the idea of freeing Eldia. So Zeke's on board with this. Okay. Again, this is what the restorationists wanted to do. And Zeke, you sold your dad out. You sold your father out. But you're doing the same thing he wanted you to do from the start. So I need more context, and I need more Zeke background, and I need more context between him and Aaron's conversations. I need to see Aaron and Zeke talking. I need to see them building up to this whole new Eldian Empire concept. I need to see it. And I'm assuming that Isayama is going to give that to us. We just haven't got there yet, but I'm craving it at this point because, yeah, Zeke and Aaron being on the same page, I've been predicting it kind of, but I didn't know how it was going to happen, and we're already here. So I'm like, how did we get here? So yeah. And they're both wanting Eldia to be free. And you can see that Levi and Hanji and Jean are all kind of, I like the representation of, you have Zeke and Aaron in the same shot that are on the same page. And you have Hanji and Levi and Jean in the same shot on the same page. Like Hanji and Levi and Jean, they get it. They're like, yeah, you're not wrong, but the way that we're going about doing this caused unnecessary casualties. And that's a problem. They're both thinking that, you can tell that all three, and then Zeke and Aaron are thinking the same thing on either side. It's the visual representation is really good. Like, they both are just like, ugh. And then, yeah, that door opening. As soon as that door opened and Jean looked back, I was like, and you saw Connie's face, I'm like, nah, it's over. She's dead. And Connie crying. I feel so bad for Connie. He's lost everyone. Like, other than the friends that are on the ship with him that are still alive, he's lost, like, his best friend Connie, his family. Yeah. And then, God, the worst part is just Armin and Mikasa crying over her. Like, Armin, like, on his hands and knees. And Mikasa showing this much emotion. Like, Mikasa's been so calm and reserved, but her just breaking down and Armin breaking down. Like, Sasha was with them from the start. And just, oh my God. No. And John doesn't cry. That's the thing. John doesn't cry. He didn't cry when Marco died. He just said he had the bones. but he doesn't cry. And then Aaron's reaction is probably the most interesting of all of them. Because you expect Sasha and Connie, or you expect Connie to have an emotional reaction. You expect Armin and Mikasa to. And John doesn't cry because he's too tough, right? He keeps it, he holds it together. He internalizes it. But Aaron, we don't see Aaron's eyes. And Hanji looks so sad. And Levi and Aaron both have that. Levi, outwardly doesn't express. Levi manages to keep it all in. He's kind of like John. Levi and John are similar where they just internalize it. They don't, in front of everybody, cry. And Hanji's very sad. And then Connie, God. Just the one solo stream of tears. And then Aaron's so quiet, and then he asking Connie, did she have any last words? Yeah. She said meat. And God, you could take that so many different ways because Aaron reacts to it, like his reaction. Yep. It all ties back around. And for a second, we get Aaron, we get suicidal maniac feral Aaron for just a second, but it's much more sinister because he there's a morbid humor to it all, right? Because he smiles for a second, like oh, she said meat. The first thing I could think of was, oh, like a Titan, right? Like the last words is just meat. It's something so raw and primal and primitive. Like you think of meat, you think of just eating raw consumption for survival. I thought of a Titan. That's the first thing I thought of was just, it'd be like something a Titan would think, right? And then Aaron's smile, it turns to a rage and grimace, right? And he laughs for a second and everybody's like, the fudge? But he's not laughing. No. And he's looking back on that memory back from season 1, right before Trost, when Sasha's like, I bought some meat from this officer's storehouse. That Sasha's like, I had it. It'll be fine. We can just raise more cattle and sheep once we retake our land. Once we retake our land. And it's that ideology that she had was that once we win and we get to take our land back, we'll get enough meat for everybody and we won't have to hoard it all away. And then it cuts to her dead. And Mikasa and Armin both crying over her. And then that Aaron, that laugh and smile turning into just such a raging face. And then Jean, and then just as we've always done in this series, Jean is the one to bring Aaron back to reality and say, hey, look, Aaron, Sasha only died because you dragged the scouts into this. You came over here. This was the sacrifice. He's like, do you get to cry? Do you deserve to get to cry over this? Because it's really kind of your fault that this happened. You won this battle, but we lost Sasha because of it. And I love that Jean's always the one to bring Aaron back to reality about it, right? I always love that. Jean's always been the one to do that. And just that face. And Aaron, God, that face, it's so full of anger. Anger and guilt and shame. And Aaron knows it. He's like, yeah, this was the price. And the thing of it is that I don't think it's going to dissuade Aaron I don't think it's going to dissuade Aaron at all from doing what he's doing. I don't think it will. I think it's only going to drive him further because that memory he had of her, it was the memory of her saying, once we retake everything that was ours, we'll be free and we can have more freedom and we can have all the meat we want. I think Aaron's going to use Sasha's death as a catalyst to just go even further, right? He's so pissed off about it. And John's not wrong, but I think Aaron and Flock are in the same mentality. Flock's all on board this whole, we're going to take back what's ours. And I think that Sasha's death is just going to spurn. I think Sasha's death is going to do multiple things on the board, right? It's going to do multiple things for multiple characters. For Aaron, I think it's just going to, for Aaron and Flock and the people that are with them in this new Eldian Empire, it's just going to further, they're going to use Sasha's death as a springboard to be like, look at what they've done. Let's take back what was ours and make them pay for it. For characters like Armin, Jean, and Mikasa, it's going to just further their ideology that they're like, Sasha died because we did this stupid mission that we didn't have to do. Yeah, we got Zeke. Great. But we didn't have to do it this way. And so because we did it this way, Sasha died and we lost these other people. And I think it's just going to further their ideologies that they're like, this is not the right way to go about it. And then we have Falco and Gabby seeing all of this. And Gabby is going to witness and see what things are like from the other side. Like when they lose someone, how it affects them. And so she's going to see, and I think her and Falco are going to realize they're not so different, the other side and their side. So this is all insanity. This is all crazy leading up to what do we do? So they're going back to the island. Is Zeke going to meet him? I have so many questions. I have so many questions with this episode. I'm like, I have so many questions going into this. Like, okay, just so many questions. So one, is Zeke going to meet Historia? Are their family, technically, are they going to meet Historia? Is Aaron going to tell them all about, at this point, when Zeke said that they have the founding titan and someone with royal blood, so Aaron has told them about Dinah at some point. So now whether he's told, I'm assuming he's told Historia about all this, right? Assuming. So Zeke is meeting Zeke may meet Historia, maybe. Crazy talk. I want to see, I have so many questions. One, is Zeke going to meet Historia? I want this to happen. Is Aaron going to, are we going to see Aaron and Zeke's conversation from the past? I want to see that. Are we going to find out what's been going on the last 4 years with Parody? I'm assuming we're going to see that. What are they going to do with Falco and Gabby? They're prisoners of war. They're kids. They are not Titan shifters. So technically Falco and Gabby, other than being little trained murder children who are extremely tough and extremely smart and capable of killing people, they're little murder children. But I don't think Falco's going to try anything. Gabby's the one I'm worried about. And they'll probably just tie her up. And what are they going to do? Are they going to take her to Annie? Are we going to find out what's going to happen with Annie? What's been happening? Where Yelena and Anyan, when did they come into all this? Where was the whole thing with Aaron, Mikasa, and Armin coming into play? There's so many questions about what's been happening the last 4 years with Parody leading up to this whole mission. And this whole first half of part one has been the whole thing to get Zeke. Okay. Are we going to spend part 2 explaining what was been happening the last 4 years with Parody? Or are we going to spend like 1 or 2 episodes doing that and then move on to the present? I have so many questions. I want to watch episode 9 right now, but I know that's a terrible idea. So I'm going to wait a couple days. Because as I've told you all before, I don't need to watch episodes back to back. It's a bad idea. So I'm going to wait. Tomorrow, episode 6 is coming out on Patreon. Episode 4 is coming out on YouTube. I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait and see what the comments are for those 2 episodes. And then maybe in a couple days, I'll watch episode 9. But guys, holy cow. These episodes. This episode was just, again, I feel like it's just setup after setup after setup. And it just keeps building. And even though this was like the aftermath of the battle, it was still a setup for the next part. And I'm so excited for the next part. But now, God, I have so many questions and I need answers. And I know Isayama's going to give them to me. It's just a matter of time. So I am curious about this whole new Eldian Empire, though. Because the original Eldian Empire were the 9 Titan shifters just going around from place to place and usurping it and taking it over, right? And just kind of assimilating it into the Borg, right? You became part of the Borg. You became part of the Eldians that way. So the question is, the thing that's different with this new Eldian Empire is in the old one you had 9 Titan shifters and you had the founding Titan and the other 8. But Aaron's already eaten. Aaron has 3 inside of him now. So is Aaron going to eat Zeke? Is that the expectation? That Aaron's going to eat Zeke and gain the 4th one? Okay. What we doing with that? I mean, in this new Eldian Empire, is Aaron going to be the ruler of it? Is Aaron going to be king and hook up with Historia and my ship is going to happen? Is that what's going to come down to it? I don't know. I don't know. We don't know what Historia's been doing for 4 years. Not hooking up with Ymir, that's for sure. Unfortunately. So yeah. Okay. I'm very curious to know your comments down below. Please no spoilers. But God, this episode, so much setup and so many little payoffs that have been so much fun. I'm so glad things are like paying off. I'm really glad that Zeke is with them, because if it had turned out, there were so many like little moments in the last couple of episodes that if Zeke had turned out to not be with them, I was going to call it poor writing on Isayama's part. I'm like, really? You let all this happen and Zeke's still with the Warriors? It all makes sense now. So, but yeah, in any case, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, God, I'll be back in a couple days with episode 9 of Attack on Titan season 4. Bye.